So the Austrian GP is done and dusted, and big breaking news, really, or not, if you've been following Formula One for the last season and a half. Max Verstappen has taken a rather dominant, easy, let's say, sleepwalk. He sleepwalked himself to a win. No big news there, not a big surprise. It was always expected that the Red Bulls were going to be strong on this particular circuit in particular, and given the fact that they have had the fastest car throughout this particular season, you were expecting, or you knew the fact that they would be emerging on top, and it was just a matter of seeing whether or not Sergio Perez could have actually given Verstappen a run for his money. The update or the big breaking in that regard is that he couldn't. Verstappen was pretty much cruising throughout the race, and even for the brief period where Charles Leclerc was really leading the race, it never looked like the Ferrari was going to be in any, let's say, position whatsoever to be fighting for the race win. Having said that, there is some improvement in that regard for the Ferraris, because you remember that they have been bringing upgrades to their cars for the last couple of races. The good news is those upgrades do seem to be working, because they did genuinely perform very well on this particular circuit. They did look much quicker than they have in quite some time. And genuinely speaking, they were the second fastest team on the day, given the fact that Leclerc finished on the podium. Carlos Sainz, well, he ended up finishing fourth, but not the worst race in that regard for him. It was a pretty good race overall for Ferrari, and it does show just how, let's say, fickle the competitive balance is when you're looking at teams beyond Red Bull. Almost makes you think how close the season would look if Red Bull were not actually part of it. It's a tempting thought to have in many regards, sure, because you look at the competition from the other side, and all of the teams are really closing up. The gap is not that much. It's changing from circuit to circuit depending on whose car is stronger on which circuit, because again, you'd seen improvements in the Mercedes beforehand in Canada. Therein, after that, you saw, or before Canada rather, you saw it in Spain. In Canada, you saw the Aston Martins make a jump because they also introduced upgrades. Now you're seeing the Ferrari make a bit of a jump, and not just that, even the McLaren car of Lando Norris, which was the only one of the two McLarens carrying the upgraded parts this weekend because they weren't able to produce enough of them. Piastri will be carrying it from next weekend. Well, they too were showing improvement. In fact, Norris was racing with the Mercedes cars of Hamilton at one point and winning. So that's the kind of improvement that McLaren have done in their car, which is being touted as basically a B-spec car. So you're seeing plenty of movement in that regard. Mercedes were always expected to struggle in this particular track because, generally speaking, their engine has always been one that struggles on higher altitude tracks. You've seen it even when they were at their most dominant. They didn't necessarily always win in Austria or even Mexico, for that matter, which is another high altitude circuit. So generally speaking, well, that this has been one of their weaker circuits. So 7th and 8th, I think they'll take that. They'll be okay with it. Whereas, but if you're looking at the other teams, well, there is definite movement. So we're expecting the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th to become much tighter. And that is, of course, a good thing. You just wish you were getting a competitive title fight as well. But unfortunately, you're not getting that. So the breaking news update for those of you who are just joining us, Max Verstappen has won the Austrian GP and would be the odds-on favorite for the next weekend's British Grand Prix as well. So you can join us live, and we'll be bringing you plenty of stories from the world of Formula One before that, during that, and of course after that. Stay tuned to Sports Today for more such updates. But if you want to do that, you're gonna have to subscribe. So like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe, tap the bell, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app as well. Also, check out us on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Follow us there as well. Stay tuned to Sports Today for more updates. For now, from my side though, it's goodbye.